The Boston Greeks podcast is here and ready to bring Greekness back.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Boston Greeks podcast, the podcast that features cool, interesting people from the Boston area of Greek background. I'm Ari, your host. With me is Foti Stamos. What's up, Foti?
Yasu Ari.
Tikanis.
That's one brother. Good, man. I'm super pumped and super excited for this episode.
Dude, we do a lot of podcasting together. This is the most excited I've been for a podcast. I feel like, I don't even know, like a schoolboy. And not in a bad way, but so excited because we have the group responsible for some of the best moments of my life.
Likewise.
Being in Boston, growing up in Boston. These people, like without these people, I would be a miserable just wreck right now. And it's because of them that we are who we are, and a lot of the stuff that we've done.
Because of these individuals, if it wasn't for them, you wouldn't be so popular with the ladies.
I think I would have always been popular.
Right? Yeah, okay.
In a different way. But anyway, we have a reunion here, people, of the best Greek DJs on the scene. I want to say anybody correct me if I'm wrong, mid-90s to mid-teens, right?
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, and, dude.
Why you got to pick on me for my age already? We haven't even started. Why you got to bring
There's only one here from mid-90s, I think.
It was early 90s, all right? So why you got to pick on
early
me?
90s. Well, let's just say the last 20 years.
There you go.
So, guys, these are the dudes that put Boston on the map. These are the dudes that allowed me to do what I've done for the last 20 years with my website. Without these guys, there probably wouldn't have been much to put up. There wouldn't have been much for me to do. And honestly, it's these guys, and they're all friends. That's the best part. It's not even like a professional relationship. These are all friends. They're all awesome, awesome people. We love them. Everybody watching and listening, I'm sure you know one or all of them. All good guys. And let me just do a quick introduction. Foti, you want to do an introduction of each of them?
Yeah, let's go through the lineup. We'll go one by one. Let's introduce to the episode George Kotzamanis. George, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks guys. Thanks for having me.
No,
Good to be here. I'm very surprised you had me go first. I think Peter should have went first following that whole spiel.
Oh, no,
listen,
we left him for last.
This is an introduction. We're just introducing you, and then we'll get to Peter so he could start off with some of the history. But on our screen, George, you're first because you logged in first, so you got lucky.
So, George, tell us, for the audience, your DJ name, where you grew up, and probably some of the spots that you were spinning through that duration of time.
Sure. DJ name is DJ Manis. That name came from just the last letters of my last name, Kotzamanis. And I grew up in Marblehead, hung out with a lot of people from the North Shore. Places I've DJ'd at, man, I can't even remember some. We're going back.
You were in a lot of places.
So 33, District, Ohm. I had residencies there. I can't even remember where else.
I know we had you at Splash for a while.
Yeah, Splash.
You did some appearances at Il Panino for us.
Yeah, there's tons of places.
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah.
I'm sure all of us here have probably, spun or did events at the same spots through the years, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Excellent. Thank you, George. And let's move on down to our next guest, our main man, Dimitri Soteropoulos, a.k.a.
Well, okay. So, I guess I'm Dimitri Soteropoulos. I'm also from the North Shore. I've been DJing now for about 15 years. Started just alongside George, who we just heard. For a period of time in my early stages, I went by DJ 7. It was my street name in the club scene. I've come sort of a way where I've transitioned to just go by DJ Dimitri. So that's how you'll find me today. If you're searching for a wedding soon,
yes,
give me a call.
Or baptism,
right? So I played at a lot of those same clubs that George has played. It's been a while since I've been in the club scene. I primarily am in the private event space now, but I still cater to mostly like Greek or Greek American events. But yeah, a lot of these guys in here, we've all collaborated in the past or worked together with, and it's really exciting to actually talk to everyone all at once. It's been a while, and I'm excited for this.
Yeah, man, it's like a mini reunion, everybody together, and I love it. All right, let's
Dimitri. Any spots real quick you want to mention before we move on?
Like that I played at? So there was like a Gypsy Bar, Rumor, Venue. I did Ocean Club for you, Foti. I did Umbria for you. I did Flash again, 33.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Good times.
Great times, yeah.
Thank you, Dimitri. And moving on to our next guest, John Speridakos. Yanni, welcome to the show, brother.
Guys, thank you for having us. John Speridakos, also North Shore. I think everybody here is from the North Shore.
Nope.
No, not Kosta.
Yeah.
Which one of these is not like the others?
So myself and Chris Paragios, aka El Greco, who will be introduced soon. We started DJing together, influenced by Peter over here, Peter Souhleris, at Goya dances.
Oh man. That brings back.
And Chris and I started DJing with his cousin and my brother, and Chris and I kind of kept it going, did all kinds of gigs, over the years, production, remixing, recording, all that stuff. And, spots that we did for Greek nights, there were a lot of one-off spots. But I think for me, was for Greek nights was Backroom and Venue.
Backroom and Venue.
Probably like the main thing.
Excellent. Awesome. Thank you, John. And then moving on to our next guest, who's the most serious guest of all time. The one and only DJ Thriller, Arthur Markos. Welcome to the show, brother.
Yo, what up? Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us.
It's been a great pleasure living in the Boston area in this special time where we grew up, and having that whole Greek scene that we kind of grew up in. And, as for me as a DJ, I think I probably came in later in the game than most people would think. Like I grew up with Chris and John, and they were always doing it, and you always had Peter always doing it. And I came in the game, I was like, I just love music because I was exposed to all those Greek nights, all those international nights. So when I came in, I was like, all right, I want to just get into music production. I want to get into DJ. And I remember talking to John and Chris, and I'd be like, I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to do all this type of stuff. This is probably back 20 years ago. So, but I grew up in that culture where it was like everybody around you was DJing or at the club all the time. And so for me, when it came to actually start DJing, teamed up with Chris, DJ El Greco, teamed up with Sigma Entertainment. It's the second coming of Sigma Entertainment after Foti was gone. And we started doing those ginormous big Greek nights. I think it was that we took it to that next level where we were doing the production, we were doing the mix CDs, we're going to New York, going to Philly. We kind of blew it up. We're getting attention overseas. It was like hit the internet really hard. And I think that was my experience. I think it came from starting as just going to these Greek nights and then boom, being like part of them, which was like that was my intentions. And now I'm still active. I'm still doing weddings and baptisms.
Awesome. Nice.
Awesome,
Thank you,
man.
Arthur. And then moving to the next guest with us, who's been previously mentioned by the other DJs, Chris Paragios. Chris, welcome to the show, brother.
Yeah, thanks. No, this is exciting. Ari had mentioned that he wanted to do something like this a while back. So thank you, Ari, for putting it together. This is really cool.
And you were very apprehensive because you don't trust me. You think I'm going to go and do something crazy.
I was a little apprehensive. Yeah, just because I know you. But no, you're being professional, so I like that.
Just wait a few minutes. Chris, right before you finish, I have one very special story that I am going to mention a little bit later on that has to do with you and John. And this is a professional story. Like, it's not crazy or anything, but just remind me. And then I want to also just ask you about something that you guys did for me. So we'll get to that. So just go ahead with
it. Cool. I think I know what it is. All right, so Chris Paragios from the North Shore, Lynn. I think most of us are from Lynn. Where Peter was the OG from Lynn that started it all for my generation in my eyes. My most recent name was El Greco. I started off with DJ Christos and DJ Volantis. I had an American DJ. I was all over the place.
Nice.
But I ended it off with El Greco because I was really into Latin music this whole time. From like the early days of Spanish reggae to Latin house to international nights that Peter and his crew would throw. I was just obsessed with Latin music. And then towards the end, I was really into reggaeton. I was like, man, I'm calling myself El Greco. That's the Greek, right? So that's where that came from. And, over the years, we started in 92 when we first got our turntables and mixer. And I get to give a shout out to DJ Thanos, who was in here. He started with us. That's John Speridakos, his cousin. We all started together. We got all turntables together, suggested by Peter what to get back in the day. We started buying vinyl. We started borrowing vinyl from each other. Johnny Makris, another one that we can't forget about. He was instrumental in this whole scene. We'd go to his basement. Me and John and Charlie, John's brother, we'd go to his basement. He'd teach us how to match beats. He was teaching us. He's like, you got to BPM, you got to do this, you got to do that. It was during the Euro days. So it's just unbelievable, those memories that I have. So anyways, I mean, over the years, you know, it wasn't only Greek, even though towards the end we were more known for the Greek stuff, but, you know, variety of music over the years. And John mentioned a few of the clubs that we've DJ'd at. You know, to add to that, you know, part of the Sigma days that Thriller was talking about, the second portion of it, you know, Rumor, Venue, you know, what was it, Mansion. There was all these clubs. I can't even think of them now.
Bijou, remember Bijou with a
Bijou, yeah. There were so many clubs. But yeah, you know, I think this will organically tell the story of the scene as we continue here. Yeah. Especially, you know, I know Peter has a lot to kick this all off with. So. And
Chris, didn't you and John Speridakos go by a duo name?
Oh yeah. So we went by the Freakas because that was our name when we were doing production and remixes for X-Mix Records. So we just thought it was a cool name and we just stuck with it for the Greek stuff too.
Yeah, I mean, we were already like doing a bunch of gigs and like had some stuff, and like we'll maybe get into like how we got into X-Mix, which was probably like the biggest thing for us at the time. It's like
awesome.
Growing up playing this stuff and then we work for them, you know. So it's cool.
Great. Thank you, Chris. And now we're going to move on to our next guest from North Shore, South Shore, Mr. Kosta Blathras. Welcome to the show, brother. Thank you for taking the time to be with us.
Thank you for having me. First of all, I'm excited. I feel like we're doing like a virtual Sniyamas over here. We're going around the table, kind of, and you say why you're here. I'm honored actually to be mentioned with all these DJs. I've worked with all of them, and they've all influenced me in some way or the other. My background actually goes all the way back since I was a little kid, actually. My father DJ'd. He actually was one of the first original Greek DJs in Boston back in the day. Before the club scenes and all that, he was him actually, and he went by Hellenic Sound, which we've continued carrying on the name today with my brother. I learned DJing from him, and obviously fell in love as a small child. The records, all that, 8-tracks, cassette tapes, all that stuff. And like most of these guys, I started doing DJing for my friends, Sweet 16s, house parties, stuff like that. But when I really wanted to get serious about it and, you know, start doing some weddings and other events, I reached out to the Godfather, who's here with us tonight, Peter Souhleris, and he was kind enough to take me under his wings, I remember. And I went with him to a few gigs and stuff, and you know, helped me build confidence in my emceeing and being on the mic. So I'll never forget that, you know. And then through the years, all these guys I've you know, worked with, and we had some fun times. But as far as the club scene goes, I did a few events, so obviously I was more of a special guest. I wasn't residents like these guys here were. But for me, I guess what I did, I took after the club. So people would go out, obviously what you guys did with Greek Boston, brought the Greeks together, made these awesome events. I got to participate in some of them. Most of them ended up, like Ari, I think mentioned in some of his other podcasts, the matchmakers. They ended up meeting, right? Going on to have their own events, you know, weddings and christenings. And that's kind of where I took off with that. And a lot of the couples I DJ'd over the years, I remember, you know, seeing them out in clubs when they were like, you know, puppy love, you know, young couples. And then I had, you know, the pleasure of being part of their special day, you know.
Kosta, maybe you played the very perfect song that got them to dance together and maybe have their first kiss. Maybe you're responsible. You never know.
Yeah, maybe.
And Kosta, where did you grow up, brother?
Oh, yes. So I grew up in Quincy, South Shore. Obviously, I'm outnumbered here tonight. I'm the only guy from the South Shore. Grew up in Quincy for most of my adult life, and then for most of my childhood life, I should say. And then my adult life, I live in Weymouth currently, in the South Shore, still.
Awesome.
And yeah, but this job is taking me all over New England. So, you know, not just obviously in the city of Boston, but I've got to meet Greeks throughout the whole New England area.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I love it. Like all these guys know, it's a passion. We do it because we love it. We're going to do it. Peter's still doing it, you know, and he's been, you know, at it since probably 16, 15 years old, probably, Peter?
17, I got it.
Yeah.
17, 18.
Yeah, and he's never going to stop. I'm never going to stop.
Love it.
Power to you guys.
It's in our blood. Blood.
Bravo. Thank you very much, Kosta. We're going to talk more through this segment, and then on to our last guest, the moment we've been waiting for. As everyone has mentioned here, the godfather of our time, Peter Souhleris. Peter, thank you so much, brother, for taking the time in your extremely busy schedule.
Are you kidding me? This is the most fun thing I've done all year.
we know what you got going on, but, you know, for us, it's an honor to have you here. So thank you.
Listen, when I hear music and DJing, count me in. And to me, that's kind of why I think, you know, all of us became successful, because we didn't do it for anything else other than the passion for it. You know, I talked to you guys before, Ari and Foti. we've talked before. Like when I first got into it, money wasn't an object. It wasn't how much you're going to pay me to do, a gig. It was like, can I pay you so I can work at a club? It didn't matter, So I just feel really kind of, no one knows the journey they're going to go on. So I feel really blessed of what I've done, where I've been, who I've played with, and to kind of, wrap it up. It's like to be with all these other DJs when normally everyone's at each other and they're all competitive, and we've got a bond over the years. Not only I know a lot of you guys say, I influenced you because I was older. That's all. You know what I mean? It wasn't anything else. And for me, in return,
Peter, you're being a little bit modest because I knew you were one of the forefathers, but right now tonight, after we went through this list, is when I really seriously. I've known you for years, and seriously, this is the first time that I got the true impression of how much you actually were an influence, because every single person here is mentioning you in one way or another. And it's I knew Peter was old school and he was one of the first, but you're the real deal.
Well, thanks, man. Like I said, I feel honored to be in that position, but it's a reciprocal thing. You know what I mean? Kosta gives me props and John gives me props and Thriller, and Thriller and Dimitri and Chris and George and my boy Thanos and Yanni, who we mentioned, for me at the same time, Kosta, I've told you, I think before, I am from Lynn, Massachusetts, right? Sin City, Lynn, City of Sin. You never go out the way you came in. And a quick funny story. One day my music gets stolen. And back then when your crate gets stolen, you're screwed, right? And I had a gig that night, a Greek gig. And I just started getting into the Greek stuff because I started with house and, all, Euro and all that international. So I went, I found, someone gave me your father's name, Kosta, right?
Yeah.
And I called him. He doesn't know me from a hole in the wall. And I said, my name is Peter Souhleris. I'm a Greek DJ. I'm in a pickle, blah, 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 blah. And the guy's like, drive to my house. So I drove. Where were you guys living at the time?
Quincy, probably in the time.
Yeah,
Quincy,
you were probably, this is,
I don't remember that. I remember the story. I don't remember the,
This is probably 25 years ago.
Wow. Okay.
All right. So I drove to your father's house. We're in the basement and he's just he's telling me what I need. You take one of these. You need a sirto. You need a calamatiano. I'm like, I got nothing. So he's like, take this, take that, play this, do this. So he sets me up and, stories like that. I never, ever forgot that. You know what I mean? So, and to this day, if I need music, because I'm not, on top of it, I'll call Thriller up and he'll send me a folder. I see Dimitri at gigs and I'm like, take a break. I go to him, go to the bathroom. And he just gives me a playlist and he's like, oh, good. I can take a half an hour break. And then the next day I'm like, dude, what was that nasty remix you played? And same with Manis. When I need something from Manis, I need a speaker. I'm like, I still got your speaker, by the way, Manis. It's right over here. If you want it.
It's been 5 years, Peter.
I know, dude. I love that speaker. I got John's Doombek. I wanted to learn how to play the Doombek, and John's like, dude, I got this sick thing. So it's that's how I feel with all these guys. And it's really cool. So for me, I started because I just loved music. I was passionate about it. I bought one turntable in the beginning because I couldn't afford two. And I learned how to scratch because of that, because all I had was one. I couldn't mix. I was just all day. I was just queuing songs for about 3 months. And then I could afford to buy the second one. And I started mixing. I worked in every, shithole bar you can think of. And, I know we only have a limited amount of time, but one day I get a call to work at Avalon. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And I thought my friend was punking me, So he's like, no, again, I hung up. He hangs up on me. I call him back. I'm like, dude, this isn't funny. He's like, no, I'm serious. You're opening up at Avalon. You're going to play at Avalon. So the rest was history for me, man. It was Manolo, you guys know Manolo. We became friends. I met him at Europa back in the day. And I played, and people don't even know what Europa is. What's it called today? Bijou, right? So we played at Europa. I played at Venue, Aria, Zanzibar. I don't even know what Zanzibar is today. Avalon, M80. The only place I didn't play when you guys were naming all these, I think I played everywhere except the Roxy. I never played at the Roxy.
What? No way.
No, I didn't. That's a fact. I never played at the Roxy.
Before I saw you in the DJ booth.
It was the other side of the tracks. I was a Lions boy kid, right? So I played at other stuff that Manos had, but at the Roxy, it was like voodoo. John Lyons is like, you can't play at the Roxy. We had opportunities, but I was like, all right, so respectfully. And I've been, I started retiring in the late 90s. I tried. right? I'm like 98. That's it. I'm quitting. And then Aleko, you guys remember Aleko? Aleko pulls me in, and I go on the promotion side. And I was like, I want to DJ. So I'm back on the, and then 2000, and I just kept on going because, like Kosta said, you can't quit DJing. I don't care if you do it 5 times a year, once or whatever, you just can't quit DJing. You can't do it. It's like quitting living. Yeah. And those, you guys know what I'm talking about, but, I thought I was going to, Greek, right? Old school Greek dad, you can't be DJing all your life. DJ, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? And then it's like, I got to grow up now, be a big boy, get a real job. And meanwhile, everyone's going to my dad. Your son did my daughter's wedding. And my son's like, I told him to get into DJ, right? It was me.
I didn't have that problem. See, my father kept pushing me to be a DJ.
I know, because your dad was a DJ. My dad was like, this isn't a real job. And then he's like, how much are you charging for a gig? I said, I'm charging this much. He's like, what? He's like, okay, do one more. No, but
there's such a humanistic side to everything you said. Like, you say you do it because it's a passion. You all do it because it's a passion. Okay? People always want music, always need music. You guys know how to put this music that they want together. You love music. People want music. You have a camaraderie between each other. You're all friends. Like, you all help each other. Like, this is one of the most humanistic stories I've been part of, and it's amazing to hear. It's not like I want a job and I need to get paid and I'm going to DJ. It's like, I love music and I'm going to DJ whether I make money or not. I am friends with these guys because they share this passion, not because I have to be. It's really cool to hear this, and I'm so happy you guys are all here, and these stories are amazing. So, okay, now let's do a quick, you guys want to do like a favorite jobs or how you guys met type of thing? I say we do how you guys
met.
Yeah. How we met.
Yeah, let's do how we met. Okay. So you guys want to do like go one by one, or you want to do some sort of like free for all?
I don't know. I mean,
let's start with George.
I have George. I feel like I have a good story about how I met everyone. So I mean, me and Dimitri, we went to Greek school together. So that's how I met Dimitri, and then we became friends from that. So we go way back. I remember I wanted to be a DJ when I was like 12 or 13, just like driving in the car with my cousins to go work at their pizza place. They would just play like Peter's mix CDs, and I was like, wow, this guy's amazing. So like I knew of Peter from then, and I was like
mixtapes, George. Mixtapes.
Yeah, mixtapes.
Nice.
And
let me get.
I knew that was gonna come up. I knew that was gonna come up.
Yeah, and like,
do you play that, Kosta? Do you have like a tape player?
Of course I do. Sorry. Yes, I'll let George finish the story. I'll tell you. Go ahead.
Peter.
Yeah, so like that's when I first like wanted to become a DJ, just listening to Peter mix, just blend songs back and forth. And I was just like amazed how you could just transition from one song to the other, just matching key, matching the beat, everything. But I actually had a roadblock. My parents didn't want me to start DJing. Even though I saved my own money, they wouldn't let me do anything. And then I continued to be friends with Dimitri. And then when I graduated high school, my parents were like, all right, well, you got into college, so you can do the DJ thing if you want. So I partnered up with Dimitri, and we had another friend. So the three of us went and bought equipment together, and that's how we started. So
it was another Dimitri, right?
No, Dino.
Dino.
Yeah, I was like D&G or something.
Forget about Chris Remo.
Yeah, I think it was called D&G.
Oh yeah, Chris Remo. You guys are the young crews. It was Remo, Dimitri, Georgie, and another random guy, Dino.
I have something to add to George's story, unless George, you want to keep going, or can I interject?
You can go ahead.
Yeah, so specifically, I have a vivid memory of what happened with this. So George and I and the other kid were sitting in my basement, and we always would just listen to Greek music. This is when Kazaa was big for downloading, right? And we were downloading and listening to Greek music. And I remember my father came into the basement. It was in the summer, and we're just chilling. And he's like, what are you guys doing? Like, what are you doing? You listen to Greek music all the time. Like, why don't you put this to use? And George probably had thought about DJing before, but for myself, it was like, all right, why don't we put it to use and become DJs? Like, put this music to work. We love it so much. We listen to it. Let's make it into something that we do, something like a job. So what's crazy about this story is George and I drove to Guitar Center, and when we walked in, we heard Speridakos playing in the back room.
No. I think it's the other way around. We were playing Greek music.
Oh, and Peter was there. Yeah, we were testing out stuff, and Peter happened to be at Guitar Center the day we decided to embark on this journey of DJing. Which I don't know if he even remembers this, but he came to us and he's like, "Hey, oh yeah, that's right, George. We were playing." He's like, "Hey, you guys are Greek? Oh, I'm Peter Souhleris." And then me and George left being like, "Oh my God, we met this guy. He's here. This is a fate. It's real."
Fine, man. The Greek DJ Angel.
It was insane. And that's how we actually started. We invested $500 each. We bought gear that was completely out of our realm of what we could be able to use. But we sat on it. We traded it off every weekend and we practiced. And what was scary is like in the beginning of doing this, we had no events for a year. We were like, oh my God, what did we do? Like we're practicing. We don't, I think this whole, when you're younger, the instant success was like, oh my God, aren't we supposed to be getting events here? And we didn't get them. But eventually, obviously, they came in. But that's a pretty funny story about how this whole panned out, how Peter actually comes into it randomly at Guitar Center.
I remember that clear as day. I walk into Guitar Center. I don't know. I needed a mic or something, and I was in a rush, and I run in there, and I'm hearing Greek music, and they're scratching it, and I'm like, what are these dudes doing? I'm like, you guys Greek, or did someone leave the CD in there,
Yeah.
Don't you guys know that you're not supposed to talk to strangers?
I know.
Right.
And I think I'll just add one more thing, because I know other people want to talk, is like, I think George and I are like, I would say the younger, like the second or third, whatever generation you want to call it in this DJ lineup. Because for us, like we grew up listening and watching everybody here, right? And what I think is like we, at least for myself, I can see myself trying to piece together different aspects of what these guys did to try to make myself better. And like, for example, like if I'm going to say, so Peter is like he takes risks. DJing. Like he'll play and he'll do stuff that you shouldn't do, but he does it and it comes out seamless. Like, and in big rooms live, he'll be cutting and doing stuff that amazes other guys watching because they would never take that risk. Guys like the Freakas, I remember in 2005 going to Rumor, as far as like mixing, they can mix at a club and it sounds CD quality. Like there's no mess ups. It was like in and out, perfect transitions. And it was like the most clean mix you could ever hear. And then Thrilla, what I think look up to him most is he puts the most effort into remixing his own. Like as far as playing original music, nobody has more. So like he could play an entire night with his own stuff. And I think people underestimate how much time it puts into engineering your own music, because I don't do it. I don't have the time. But this guy remixes more than I've ever seen in my life. So myself and George, we've seen all of this stuff and try to like sort of incorporate it into our own businesses and our own DJing skills. And I appreciate all of you guys for just being there.
Awesome. Wow. That's deep right
Sorry.
there.
Awesome.
Deep. That's deep. I love it. I love it.
I can't top that.
I won't talk anymore. I just wanted,
there's so many things that I'm trying to piece together too, hearing you.
Yeah. I needed to get that out because I just really feel like we're the younger ones. We just looked up to you. We went on gigs with you. We listened to you at the clubs, and like everything that you do, we try to replicate and mend it into a way that is us, right? But without all of you guys, like we would not be what we are today. So it's hard for me when people ask me like, hey, should I book DJ Thrilla for my wedding? It's like, he taught me. So obviously, right? He taught me these things. So if you can't even do this comparison thing, because I look up to these guys, and even like Kosta B too. If someone ever asked me for a full Greek event, like you're my go-to. I don't want to do full Greek events, but that's your forte. Like there's a part of the market that's what you guys do. You guys have the most Greek music. You have the most history in true Greek music than anyone I've ever met. So it makes sense for people to kind of know that.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And I'll just add to that, like every single one of you have helped me and Dimitri and in one way or another. I just got a memory of working I'll actually continue on about how I met everyone. I was working at a pizza place, Captain's Pizza, Swampscott, shout out to them. And the manager was his cousins with Greco. So that's how I met Greco. He used to come into Captain's. And I think that's also how I met John and Thrilla too. I think that's how I met the three of you guys. And I specifically remember asking Chris, what's the Q button on the CD player do? And like, just like Chris just like laughing in my face and being like, oh, maybe you should go buy speakers first, or like something like that.
Dude, really?
Yeah.
Sound like me.
But just, it's just like a simple thing, but I was so new to it. I mean, I think this is before I even bought equipment. I was just curious to like figure out stuff, and I just started asking questions. But every single one of you have helped me like so much. Just it's like I forget now. Just talking, having Dimitri say that whole thing about starting, and it's like the simple things that like right now I don't think twice about it because it's second nature to me about DJing. Like someone starting out really appreciates that, and
George, I thought about when you guys gave me your first mix CD with the little penguin on there.
The Linux penguin.
Breaking the ice.
Yeah, breaking the ice. And I remember listening to it, and I was like, oh man, these guys got it. They're gonna do it. Like I just remember hearing it, I'm like, they got this, man. They just started and they know where they're going, So I remember that.
Yeah, I mean, even from my perspective, the way I phrase it in my mind is like it's almost like a lineage of like, all right, there was Peter who started out, and then in my eyes after that was like Chris and John, who I always used to see out, and then I learned from them. I sat down. I mean, the core of my knowledge came from. You know what? I think maybe at one point I would have probably learned it by myself, but like sitting with Chris and John, having all that knowledge that they brought from those years, doing it since they were 16, because I probably didn't start till I was like, in my early 20s. And this gave me such a big jump on like, all right, I was like, Chris, I'm like, how do I match these things? He's like, 1% pitch is 1 BPM. And I'm like, dude, changed my life. That one little piece of information there. I was like, holy crap, now I can just mix 93 and 98, just put 5%. Because, my background too is I'm an engineer. So like, I'm trying to figure this stuff out as I'm doing it. I'm like, whoa. So at one point, when it all clicked for me, and then when Dimitri and George came along, I was like, all right, I have this knowledge and I'm going to pass it down, and it's like teaching each other, like we're Jedis. Like, all right, this is how it was done back then. And then these people are still active. It's not like, Chris and John just kind of disappeared and I'm taking over. We were just all like next in line, learning that knowledge that was probably discovered by like, Peter. Like I remember listening to Peter and he's mixing Greek music like you would mix American hip hop, like matching beats. Like who's doing that? That was a lot of my influence, and Chris probably could talk more about it too.
Really, I mean, I'm hearing this and I'm just like thinking about my story, and my first memory is you, Peter, my cousin John, because my cousin John, his older brother Mike, was friends with Peter, and Mike would always have these mixtapes from Peter, freestyle mixtapes, and John would be like, yo, I got a Peter Souhleris mixtape, Mike got it, and we'd listen to it. I'm like, oh man, that's awesome, and we didn't think of anything other than like, wow, that's cool. We got a DJ's mixtape. And then the Goya dances, we started getting older and we'd go to these Goya dances and, Peter would DJ the Goya dances. Johnny, Chris and Nick would DJ. Yeah. So those are Thriller's cousins. And I remember me and John, John and I were always into music. We met in Greek school too. And through church, we knew Peter and Thriller. But John and I were always into music. And I just remember we'd always be talking about, new tapes that came out. And then like when CDs came out, we rushed to Strawberries to buy our first CD. And then just hearing, and then hearing, Peter and Johnny and Chris and Nick DJing these Goya dances, we were like, wow, man, why don't we start DJing too? Like we love music, we can do this. And luckily for us, Peter and the guys were so willing to help us out. We would roadie for them. We would just watch what they were doing, listen to their mixes, listen to them on the microphone. And just, over time you get your opportunity to get your first gig, and then it just grows from there. But I mean, I have so many good memories from those days being, 14, 15 years old and even going to the clubs. Like that was huge. I mean, Peter, you got us in a few times. Johnny got us in a few times. We shouldn't have been in there. We shouldn't have been in there. We were 16 years old. I used to sneak everybody in, man. That's, I'm thinking back memory lane right now. I remember that story clear as day with George and Dimitri. I remember Yanni and Thanos, obviously. And what I would do as soon as I saw another kid, they were primarily Greek, I would just help a brother out. You know what I mean? Yanni was like, I want to learn. And I would say, and I was a little tough love, like if someone said to me, how much do I get to roadie? I would say, you're not the right guy.
you're fired. And they'd be like, what are you talking about? I'm like, dude, this ain't about the money. You know, if you see how I started and where I started and what I had to do and the dives I worked in and the gunshots that went off in these places, I did it for them. And I'm not exaggerating. I mean, I'm talking people hitting the floor, you know, crazy stuff in Lynn, man. I mean, we, you know, I was doing underground parties with keggers and you know, that's another story, right? But anyway, so it was Yanni, it was Johnny, it was Thanos, the same thing. I forget where I met Thanos. Thanos wanted to learn, and I said, you got to carry my records. And then when I saw that they were there for the right reasons, I put everything I could into them so they can be successful because, I don't know, I just liked it, you know? And the same thing, you know, and then I'd find out, like, I hung out with Mike Paragios, Chris's cousin. He was one of my best friends. I grew up together. And then I used to see Chris and Kosta and John and Trilla and everyone. You know, you guys weren't coming to the club yet, Manis and Dimitri, but the other guys were coming to Avalon. I would hook up everyone I could on the guest list. I would go to the front door and drag people in if I had to because they didn't have IDs. And I'd be like, no, he's my boy, he's my boy. I mean,
Well, Peter, we had that connection at the door with Mr. Steve Delios.
Steve Delios.
Right? Thanks to Steve Delios.
He would take $20 or $50 to get you right in.
Until I pointed you out, he would tax you for 3 or 4 gigs, and then you had paid your dues, and then you were good. Right. You know, but
remember the first there was a night at Zanzibar that you were doing, Peter, with the crew.
That was my first.
I remember that was the first night. We were like, yo, come with us.
I was like 16 years old. I was 16 years old, and I was at my aunt's house at a Christmas party. And they're like, we're going to the club tonight. I'm like, club? I'm like,
on a Christmas night?
I barely go to a high school dance. They're like, no, we're going to a nightclub. I'm like, what? They're like, all right, just get ready. I'm like, what do I wear? I'm like, all right. We go there. Now, I don't even know how I looked. I probably looked like I was 12, right? Chris, John, and then his cousin John. We all jump in the car, listening to Euro music going in there. I remember the thing is with me, like everything is associated with the song. So like I knew this, like I remember it was like, This Is Your Night was playing the Euro song.
Oh man!
We're driving right on Storrow Drive. We're going into Zanzibar. We go in. And I don't know if it was packed, but I just felt so small. I was like, oh my God, this is where all the cool people come. I'm like, this is what I want to do. This is where I want to be. Like I'm saying, Peter's playing, Don't Sweat the Technique, I think. The mix he'd play all the time.
You remember that?
You were mixing.
You got a good memory.
Peter's saying everything's in my head, everything associated with like the songs that were playing at the time. I remember going there. And then like the next day, I think it was like a Sunday, I had to go to school the next day. I'm like, we're walking to class. I'm like, they're like, were you at a nightclub last night? I'm like, you know, and that was part of the Greek culture. It's like, you're Greek, you go to Greek clubs, you know, and you know, and it all played in the part with the music. And it was like, you know, Peter would have the nights, you know, obviously there would be the big Easter nights and Christmas nights at the Roxy, like huge influence over, I think, my development or our development as a community is like those nights. Like,
oh yeah.
You know,
I want to give a big shout out to Johnny Magris, DJ Yanni, who was Peter's boy. The three of them, it was 2 Greeks and a Spaniard you guys used to do, right?
Yeah, was it 3 Greeks? No, 3 Greeks and a Spaniard.
The tape I have, actually, that's why I have it tonight. It's funny that you mentioned that, is Souhleris, Yanni, Thanos, and Manolo.
Wow.
So the first, I remember, so me and Chris and his cousin and my brother, like we went out, I remember there was like thing at like maybe the Expo Center or something. It was like a big like DJ, like PA system, like music equipment extravaganza thing, right? And I remember seeing a commercial for it on TV. And that was right around the time when we saw Peter and his cousins and, well, not his cousins, but like Thriller's cousins and all the boys like DJing Goya dances. And we're like, yo, we got to go to this place and get some DJ equipment. We didn't even know, but like we knew we needed a mixer. Like that's about it. You know?
And my dad threw in money for the mixer.
Yeah.
He's like, how much you need? $100.
Yeah. And then we had like my dad's old, like, you know, big like stereo receiver and an old turntable from my uncle. And our first gig, I think, was an Ahepa dance at the Knights of Columbus or something like that. But what I can tell you is I remember, so we started, I was 13, I think. And I remember the first time I ever spun at a nightclub was DJ Yanni. Johnny was DJing at one of the places in the alley.
The Alley Cat.
Yeah, like the smaller one, right? I remember it was like he was playing Fire and Affair and like that kind of stuff, you know.
Ace of Base stuff, yeah.
And those were the days, like you said, like you try to sneak everybody in, right? And like, so like we would literally, like he had like 6 kids that were like 14 to 16 with him. Person was like carrying like one record, you know what I mean? These are my roadies, you know. And I remember like he let me mix a song. It was, you know, I was 14 in Boston, and like the middle of that, I didn't know what I was doing. Like, I mean, I knew how to mix because we had some stuff at home, but I remember putting the needle on the record and my hand was...
You were trembling?
John, I remember that mix. It was the perfect mix. It was the perfect mix. I remember that.
It was great. It was.
He did it. He did it.
That sounds like it. You know, I forget what it was.
It was Foreign Affair and the Ace of Base that it was like that All That She Wants beat.
Yeah,
I think.
Another one that was like that too. But the funny thing that night, I remember my brother had a pager, and and I remember my mom paging him to like call her to get home.
911 LSPT.
This gentleman, this is for me listening to you guys because
okay. So I have so many freaking stories right now to talk about each and every person in here, but I have to mention this because it's going to eat me alive. So Chris and John, you guys just were talking about your starts and your beginnings. So think about that moment, all right? And then think about this. I'm a guy who's always appreciated music. I love music. I was actually a professional music producer for a web startup. So like, I'm not a DJ, but like, I know music and I love music. And you know, if I say something, you could say, all right, at least he has an educated knowledge of it. I went out one night, long story short, and we weren't supposed to go to this place, but we were stuck. Something happened. We didn't know, whatever. We're like, all right, let's just pop into venue. You know, we have nothing else to do. Let's just go to venue, some weird random night. I don't know what it is. Let's go. I go in and I'm like, I'm not into it tonight. Like, I don't want to drink. I don't feel it. The music starts and the music's pretty good. And I'm like, yeah, this is good. This is good. This is good. All right. Get me a drink, man. Give me a drink. All right. One drink. Music is so good. Give me a drink, man. A couple more drinks. I'm dancing. I get up on the freaking tables and I am jamming. I am having the best time of my life. And I am, whoever the freaking DJs are, man, I'm going to shake their hands. I don't give a shit. Forget the Greek nights and all this stuff. These are the DJs. End of the night comes. I'm drunk. I had the best time of my life. I'm grabbing all my friends. I'm like, I got to talk to these DJs. I never talked to a DJ that I didn't know before. I never cared. I'm like, I got to talk to these DJs. I got to shake their hands. I walk up. Chris Paragios, big smile. John Speridakos there with a headset on. And I'm like, what the hell are you guys doing here? They were DJing a night that I had no idea they were DJing. And I had, honest to God, the best time of my life because of that music. And I remember
that, man. I remember you dancing on the speaker some night and go to John. I'm like, yo, man, is that Ari?
Little do you guys know that Ari would do that almost every night.
No, absolutely not. I literally had the best night with that music, and I literally said to my friends, I don't do this because I usually know the DJs, like I usually do my own Greek nights, but I have to go and shake these guys' hands. They gave me the best night, and it was Chris and John.
I remember that night because
we've ever done. Like that was to me, that was one of my favorite gigs of all time. Like
it was like one of those magic moments.
We played music from across all genres.
That's why I love it.
It was a free-for-all 80s international reggae house.
We ended it off with Juicy by Biggie. That was the last song of the night.
You guys were the pioneers to open the
Christoph was there. I remember Christoph, the yo guy on the microphone.
The best
he
night.
He was promoting that night, and he goes, "Hey, you play that song one more time." He he had never heard of it before, and I can't play Juicy.
Last minute for that day too. We didn't even know. I think it was like Sharok's party or something.
It was after 9/11. It was like a few weeks after 9/11.
Yeah. I think you guys had some Guns N' Roses in there, like everything, everything. Well, and I was like, this is the best.
If I can add to what you guys are saying, just listening to each of you individually and as a group right now really goes to show like what went on behind the scenes. And for us on the other end, as the promoters, the marketers, as Greek Boston and as Sigma Entertainment at different levels, you were the reason why we were inspired to book nights and take the risk with nightclubs and say, you know what, give us these nights because we can fill the room because we've got the talent. And
it was all about the DJ.
We took the risk with you guys and we put you in the team with us to create these successful nights that you guys moved not just the room, but you moved the moment. Like, we can't tell you how many nights we've probably interacted with people on the way out that you are the reason why many folks that ran through these nights, thousands and thousands of people, have memories because of you. And all right, so Ari took a lot of pictures of those photo galleries for the memories, but in essence, those moments that were created by the team that's here today and the others that are not with us, which hopefully will be with us at some point in the future, was a pivotal moment in people's experiences during that era of the 90s to the 2000s. And it was, if you think about it, looking back, we had something going on collectively every weekend or multiple nights of the week. There was something going on between all of us, whether it was a weekly night, a long weekend holiday, a special occasion, or pre and after parties with concerts. When the concert, big names would come in, we do pre-parties, after parties. If you think about that collectively, that never happens in our time today. But just listen to you guys, and I hope our audience really understands that back then, think about all the effort and time and devotion and dedication and sacrifices that yourselves put into this to create nights that people will probably always talk about for the rest of their lives.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
I have a good story. Chris wants to chime in. I think a little back story of how when we started and officially teamed up with Spiro, me, you, and Spiro, and we were like, he was like bringing DJs in from New York. He was having these people come and do one nights, but he didn't have a core of like a team. And we came in together. And Chris can speak about this even more, how we like, all right, let's do this like we used to know how it used to be done, how Peter used to do his nights, or how it was done, say, in the 90s, where would we, make some mix CDs and do nights where like we, now use the internet, where it's like, let's put out teaser online, we're gonna put out brand new mix CD, coming down and get your copy. Even we sat down one time and we went through all the old music and said, all right, these songs we're gonna bring in with the new stuff,
Yeah, I feel like Peter, you might not know how much you've influenced everybody. I mean,
I was gonna say the
really nostalgia that we have growing up. Like you said, you're a little bit older, and when you were DJing, man, like, and we'd go to all your nights, like those big nights at Avalon, those holiday nights where there'd be like 2,000 Greeks.
Insane.
Just, that those are permanently ingrained in my memory. And just the amount of people that we met, the amount of people that we had fun with, the awesome music that you exposed us to. I mean, those memories will never go away. And to Thriller's point, we were trying to replicate that for the younger generation when we started DJing these bigger Greek nights. We were like, we got to get that same feel. We got to get the same feel that
yeah,
Peter
and I used to love watching you guys carry it on and do it, and once in a while I would come out, you know what I mean? Like I said, and listen to you guys, and I would just kind of be, just proud and just like,
and that was what it was. I felt, even doing it, I felt we were carrying that tradition.
Absolutely.
That tradition of like those big Greek nights, and from the North Shore, because we're all from Lynn and stuff too. It was like you kind of felt like, all right, this is we're them kids from Lynn.
Yeah.
That we become DJ. We're all like DJs, and like people would probably make fun of, like, why is every kid from Lynn like a DJ? But at the end of the day, we control the scene. We're up there playing the music. Now and we came from like, all right, these little hood rats from Lynn. And for some reason, we're playing the music for them now.
It worked. Yeah. Man. We would just, I don't know, at the right place at the right time. People always ask me, why can't we put 2,000 Greeks in a room again? And I don't know. I mean, I've got my theories, but
I think we can.
It gives me chills to remember those nights. You know what I mean? Like, I remember those nights like it was just surreal. I mean, working at a club like Avalon, and the Greek nights were phenomenal, right? They used to have a Vierinos play, and then I was just biting at the bit to get on. I was like every Greek DJ is just waiting to get on when the band stops. And I'm like, come on, I'm ready. And I had my record already queued up, and I'm going to play this, and I'm going to, I think I'm going to do that. And you were just dying to just get on there. But I remember even when I was a resident at Avalon doing regular nights on a Friday night, I would test the vibe to see, I would have a Greekometer. So I would pop on a little bit of, I don't know. Whether
you would play out Panesto Gabriele, and you would play.
Gabriele. Mr. Haimuk, right?
Mr. Haimuk. Yep. So I would just test it.
range.
Wow.
And I would just play a little bit, and then you would see 25% of that room just kind of move and go, whoa. And then I knew they were there.
Oh, you knew they were. That's awesome.
Yeah,
I knew they were there, and I would keep on playing music, and I would just. I remember one night, you guys know Louis, right? Louis Dakoyanis. He got me into the scene. He was the original, that flyer I sent out last night, the 6th annual event. He did the first annual, right?
Wow.
So he started promoting, and he was doing them at, he wasn't doing them at nightclubs. He was doing them at Mosley's. I don't even know.
Mosley on the Charles.
Yeah.
So one night he ends up being the general manager of Avalon. I'm playing music. It's 2:00. We shut down. I got some drinks in me. We're all having a good time. I stopped playing Zebekis up on the throughout the whole nightclub. And he's like, dude, it's pounding right now. And there's cops up and down the street on Lansdowne, and you get busted, you get written up, you lose your license for a weekend. That cost them thousands of dollars, right? So Louis like, just play it up on the balcony. Remember the balcony up top, right? The VIP section. So I stopped playing up there. So all the Greeks, they stopped migrating up there. And that place could probably hold about 300 sardines up there. And we have 300 people. And then those 2 big booths on the floor, those people. So about 400 kids there, just jamming. And next thing you know, it's like 2:30. And I'm just playing music like it's 1:00 in the morning, right? Just the Greeks are there. And all of a sudden, a statey like punches me on the side. And he's like, what the F do you think you're doing? And I'm like, how did this guy get in here? He's a cop, right? So he's like, shut this music down. I'm going to write you guys up. So Louis runs up and he's like, I told you to shut the music off. That's it, Souhleris. I'm sick and tired of you. You're fired. And we get into this big blowout fight. And I'm looking at Louis and I'm like, he's acting, right? He just told me to keep on playing music. So the cop, I shut the music off. Everyone's just kind of like, oh my God. Because we all knew each other, right? So the cop leaves. Everyone's just kind of looking around. They're grabbing their jackets. And Louis comes from downstairs. He goes, he left. And we just kept on going, dude, till like 4 a.m. And that stuff you can't do today. You know what I mean? Like it was just nonstop. And when I felt the vibe of Greeks being in that room, whether it was a Friday or a Saturday night, and it wasn't a Greek night, I would influence it and just play Greek music. And I would train the Americans, right? The people like the English stuff, that this is a song. This is what it is. So it was crazy for me. And it was good to see all you guys there.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it was just good. It was just crazy.
So kind of similar to that, I remember Manolo was the first person in the Boston area to ever play Macarena. Played like that original version. And my daughter is like doing the Macarena. You know what I mean? Like,
like, when only sexy girls were doing the Macarena back then. I remember that.
But it's like those were days where you could just play whatever you felt the vibe was. And didn't matter the song or
Boston
not.
also had that big international. Boston had that big international scene.
Yeah.
I think that Greeks kind of just fit in there.
It was an easy segue.
Yeah. It was easy. So it would be like you play Arabic music, you play Greek music, you play
Spanish,
some.
And I would get picture this,
music.
right? You guys can all relate to this. Your room is packed. You got 1,500 people bopping, and you got this kid coming out of left field, and he's throwing a CD. He's like, play number 5, play number 5.
Yeah,
And I'm like, dude. I was like, dude. And he's like, trust me, play number 5. So I'd put it on, I'd cue it up, and sometimes you'd be like, oh, this is nasty. I got to play this. And sometimes it sounded like, if you think about Macarena, it sounds like folky. It's really not thumping bass, right? It's like, oh, Macarena, right? So that was my experience with Macarena. I remember that. Someone comes up and is like, play number 6, but you got to put it on. And I'm like, dude, he's like, trust me, play this song. And I put it on, and everyone's like, I'm like, where the hell are these guys? They're all kids from college. They go back to, their homeland, and then come the fall, they're back. So I broke so many records doing that. The other one was, what do you call it? Step off the train. Dun, dun. Right? I come back from Mykonos. Everything but the girl, right? Yeah. I come back from, now I heard that in Mykonos, and I was like, if you listen to the song, it's really chill, right? Yeah. But it's dun 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 dun, right? And I'm in Mykonos watching what it's doing to people, and I'm like, I got to get this. And this, you can't get an MP3. I got to go find the vinyl now. I go to Athens. I'm going to a record store. There's no smartphones where you can record it. There's no Shazam. This is a pain in the ass to get that song. So I go to the record store. I'm singing it. I'm humming it. He's like, I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. So finally he's like, is this the one? I'm like, that's it. So I grabbed that song and some other ones. I land in Boston like on a Wednesday, and Thursday, Manny's playing at Avalon. I fly into Avalon, right? I'm just excited to drop this record. I go in, now it's me at least, so it's not like some dude going, play number 5, right? So I go, Manny, drop this song. So he goes, all right, puts it on, and the place loses it. And Manny's like, I'm not giving you this record back. I'm like, dude, I'm playing tomorrow. I need that record. He's like, fuck you, I ain't giving this record back, right? So stuff like that, man.
Yeah, I mean,
Boston was a special place, man. It was a special place in Boston at that time.
Oh yeah.
Man, he was like the king of the international stuff, man. Like I remember M80 or Paradise in the back, man. Like those were like he just dropped stuff that you never heard, and I'm like everybody. They were all like literally all of Europe and all the Middle East was there. You know what I mean?
But that scene in Boston, like, even if it exists, we're never going to experience what it was like at that point.
Yeah, it was. I think, I mean, even from the Greek night experience, I think there was a lot of people that were going to, well, of recently, say the past 10 years, not back maybe in Peter's day, but like maybe a little bit. But I think it got so more frequent that people were going to Greece and hearing the new music in Greece. So that put a lot of pressure on us DJs here to be like, we got to play these new tracks. Like Peter back in the day, maybe you can get away with playing an old track. Like you didn't have that turnover that we had.
That's right.
It became, you had to have the new tracks that were hot that summer, and you had to play them, at your next night.
Yeah, you guys had more pressure.
Now, so we knew it.
You had more pressure because the internet dictated what to play. Whereas back in the 90s, I dictated what to play.
Exactly.
Your tape was the internet. What was the hot song was on your tape.
Oh yeah, man. So
for us, we were like, all right, what's the hot song in Greece? Now, not only the hot song, what's the hot remix in Greece? And then we had to keep track of all that, plus the American music of the hot track. So we had a lot of pressure on us to bring that vibe. And not only that, we were releasing our CDs, not only passing them out, they were online, going to thousands. I don't want to say millions, but all around the world, people were like, "Oh, who are these guys making these CDs in Boston?" So our game had to be like top notch at all times, and then even live too. We had to we had to really program what we're playing because it was just so much more music out there.
Actually, Thriller, you bring up a point that I want to bring up something about. It's like when we were doing this back in the day, like we had to spend a substantial effort in music and learning things and everything, where nowadays, because of the access of the internet and all the music that's out there readily available, I think like anyone can become a DJ. Technically speaking, the hardware that you need to become a DJ is nothing. Like you can go out and do an event with like very limited investment. But like we were forced, like George and I were burning CDs like so we started in the CD realm of DJing, not so much like turntablism, but like we were burning CDs, labeling those, making sure like we had the right music, the right remixes. And it wasn't like we really had to think about what to play because you couldn't just bring it all. Whereas now we bring terabytes of music and it's like you play whatever. Mm-hmm. So I think
I remember Chris told me like I was to BPM songs. He taught me with a stopwatch. Yeah. And like, all right, this is how you do it. Count to 30. Right, stop.
I taught Johnny. Johnny taught Chris, and Chris taught you.
Minus 2, and then all right, that's the BPM.
Minus 2, yeah.
All my records still have a BPM on them, and I got hundreds, thousands of records, man. They still got all numbers.
I remember that, and I was like, and then make a duplicate of that CD.
Yes, and that right there, Chris, you telling me that? I was like, damn, that's it. That's how these DJs were doing it all this time. They had dupes. I knew it. I was figuring it out. Like I'm listening to the songs. I know what the songs are, but I'm like, how the hell are these guys doing it? And once Chris told me, like, yeah, I make dupes of these. I make duplicate CDs. So I have 2 CDs. I can go back and forth. I'm like, holy crap! Like, wow. I don't even know if he invented it, but I'm like, this is
so it was tough for me and John and probably you to some extent too, Peter, because we started off with all vinyl and then we had to make transition to CD because you couldn't find vinyl anymore.
Yeah.
So we would lug crates of records and cases of CDs with us.
I went through that transition from vinyl to CD and I never trusted the CD, right? And I was like, I don't know about this CD thing. And then I was all CD. And then MP3s, I was like, I don't trust this MP3 thing. You know what I mean? But I remember, trying to get a song back then, Life is Life. Remember that song?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
That was
Life
just
is
a
life.
floor pack. But guess
Opus.
what? I didn't have it on vinyl. So I got it from, I don't know if it was Eddie K or Manolo, and they gave it to me, or Rafi from Boston B. They gave it to me on a tape. So I had the tape deck at Avalon. No, this was at the Hub Club. This was pre. And I had it play and pause. So I'm playing it on a tape. You know, I couldn't mix it, but that song didn't need a mix. But I had a tape deck to play a song because I couldn't get it anywhere else. You did what you had to do. You know,
that struggle just doesn't exist today. That's the crazy thing.
You know what's funny about, like, so you think like you can just find any song nowadays, and for the most part you can. Like, I remember one day I was over at Chris's, like, I don't know, a year or two, and we're just thinking, like, reminiscing, like, oh, you know, like if you keep all your records, like, oh, you can just dig through and like pull them back out. But we kind of got our fix by just going to YouTube and just typing. Hey, let's listen to this song for 10 seconds.
And then, you know what? That's good, but also your audience, like I was saying before, the audience is accustomed to that too. So right. They're looking at you as a DJ and be like, all right, you got even more than that, because I can go on the internet and I hear this guy doing it. And I'm like,
I'm saying, like, what's funny is, like, there are a few rare things though that were so rare, that maybe were just released on a 12-inch. You know what I mean? I remember I've been searching for maybe 20 years now for this Groove is in the Heart remix, and I can't find it.
I have 2 copies. One is sealed, John.
What's that?
I have 2 copies. One of them is sealed.
It's the one that breaks down a cappella?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like my favorite mix. We used to play it.
I'm just messing with you, dude. I don't have
that. It's funny because, like, there are these rare things that
I might have it. I don't know.
Like,
you probably do.
Nobody uploaded it. You know what I mean?
You know what? I'm thinking about, again, like, tapes, influences, and jog my memory. So there was one big influence on me was Peter. He was the number one where I just studied what he would do. But then we're talking about the big nights at Avalon and the Roxy, right? The other huge influence on me was DJ Yorgo. The way he mixed Greek music, I had never heard before. And he would just do a whole night of Greek music, just flowing. And I was like, whoa. And then I remember one summer, John's dad had gone to Monemvasia, comes back with this tape. And John was like, yo, man, you got to listen to this tape. So we were listening to the tape. So I'm like, yo, is this DJ Yorgo? Like, flawless Greek mixes. It was a 90-minute tape, and flawless. And I was like, dude, how do we do that? Like, because
driving into Boston.
Yeah. I was like, how do we even do that? How are they mixing like this? And I was like, DJ Yorgo make this, man. This sounds like DJ Yorgo. What are they doing? Like, how do we figure this out? Because back then we weren't mixing Greek, and I think we put like a limitation on us, thinking that you can't mix Greek.
Yeah. And I always thought that too.
Were like, it was irregular to us. We didn't think about it that way. And then when we heard it could be done, and then Peter started doing it more, and those guys started doing more. And the more we listened to DJ Yorgo, and the more Greek music we got, then we started. And then when the Denon CD players came out, and we could actually put Greek CDs in them, it was like, whoa, I can mix Greek music. I never thought of that before. I thought it was like some far-fetched idea to mix Greek music. When I was young at that age, it just, you were used to mixing house, hip hop, I mean, and to think that, whoa, I can do the same thing with Greek music now, and I can even do like these cool blends, like when Peter started like transitioning from like Greek to American stuff. Like, oh man, I never thought of that before. That's cool.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, for my influence is that being Greek and living in America, that was one of my goals. Was like, look, I'm Greek. I love Greek music. I also love hip hop and pop and house and all this. I like to play them together, and like that was my thing. It's like not only remixing, but like just even at a gig, you're like going back and forth and you're blending. And Peter used to do it all the time. He used to like punch in like little acapella sections and songs. Vividly I can remember like CDs, tapes that I would get, and he would do it. I'm like it was just part of that experience of growing up in America and also being Greek. It's like you want to play those songs together or mix them together.
Yeah, and you know what, I'm thinking about what Dimitri said earlier on tonight. He said when he was studying all our different styles, and he commented on how he thought the Freakas had, clean mixes. That's always something that it's funny because that's something that I always noticed when I was like, man, that mix was clean. I didn't realize subconsciously I was being influenced the whole time. I was like, I want to sound clean like that. That's my goal. I want to sound clean, like you don't even know what's happening.
It was weird.
And that's funny that's what you noticed. And John, I think you felt the same way, because when we would go out to clubs and we would hear, it doesn't matter, Greek, whatever music, but we would hear DJs, and at the end of the night, we're like, yo, man, that DJ was clean.
Like the music or not. It wasn't even like that was it. It was like separating the technical from the art.
Yeah. And I always respected Peter for taking the risks. I was like, I don't have the guts to do that. I don't want to screw something up, because I was always obsessed with being so clean. And Peter would be like, be like punching that play button on the dead ends, or ding, 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 they'd be sampling.
They kept punching it in.
I wish I had the guts to do that, but I never had the guts to do it. I want to screw up.
If I can just chime in, everything you guys have mentioned about the effort, the conscious decisions to do things, whatever you guys did on our end worked, because all the nights that we've done together, collectively, indirectly, directly, there hasn't been a night that I can't remember that was jam-packed, bumping, people just loving it. And listening to you guys has been a pleasure by far, because it just brings me back to those days of the good times. But I just wanted to ask this question to all of you guys individually for our audience. You've played at different rooms, you've played at different settings, you've played solo, you've played as a team. If there was just one night you guys can let us know that was the most memorable night to you guys, what night would that be, and where were you?
I'll answer first, and it was that night that I talked about with the Freakas.
I'll second that.
That was my most memorable night too. It wasn't Greek, but it was the most memorable night. That's for sure.
Let's start with George. Not to put you on the spot, but if there was one night that you can let us know that was probably had the most either impact or the most memorable for you as a DJ.
I think it was that Goya night we were messaging about yesterday, where me and Dimitri were opening up for Greco and Peter, because that was kind of I think that was like our first
How old were
club
you?
Thing.
How old were you?
I think 17.
17, 18, yeah.
You got all the young Greek girls all like
ripped up your playlist.
Yeah, so like me and Dimitri. So I remember we were in Dimitri's basement practicing, because that's where our equipment was. And we were like, all right, we got to do this right. We got to make sure like we don't mess up and look bad in front of everyone. So we wrote down like every song, and like the transition, the BPM, what time we're going to mix in, mix out, like everything. Like it was like a set, like complete set. And we practiced it. We're like, all right, yeah, we got it. And then we show up and like Peter sees us put down this paper, and he's like, what's this? Like, no, you don't. And he just like takes it and rips it. And we're like,
Did you really, Peter?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
I ripped it up. Listen, dude, I told you, tough love. I looked at them. I said, you think you're going to be able to call the shots? You don't know if these people are going to like this song or hate this song. You got to freestyle this. And George was like, what? I said, you'll be fine. And they were just fine. They were playing whatever. And you can never premeditate. That's the way I grew up, because I've been there. I used to think, I'm going to go in, I'm going to play this first, that second, that third. I'd play my first two songs and no one was dancing. And I'm like, okay, that didn't work. I better stick and move real quick. And bam, 30 seconds. Bam, and then all of a sudden I'd bite you. And then, so I was just messing with them. They were young. I was like, you know what? Let me just mess with them a little bit.
It was the best thing you could have done for us, because like you said, you can't just go with a set playlist. There's different people, different crowds every night. So you have to know what you're going to play. And I mean, to this day, I've never had a set playlist again from that night. I mean, I have songs that I must play because they're bangers, good songs,
right?
But never like I'm going to play this, and this. And it's just crazy how you go through a night and you're playing music, and out of like thin air, you just think of like a song that, oh my God, this song will just mix amazing with that. Or even like people requesting, sometimes they're annoying, but sometimes they give you great ideas to do a mix you never even thought you could do. Yeah, so I think that's definitely my most memorable night.
Thank you, George.
You mean like the drunk, like 18-year-old girl that comes up saying, you have to play my song.
It's usually not them.
Are you sure that wasn't you, Ari?
It was me and the drunk.
All right. How about you, Dimitri? What was your most
impactful
memorable night?
Yeah, so I think I had mentioned it earlier. So it was Rumor, Bunny Ball. It was either 05 or 06, the Freakas plus Souhleris. And I just remember that was the night that I specifically remembered like these two different styles of like that clean, it's almost like the Freakas, like, I don't know if you did, but it's like you didn't play remixes. Like you mixed original songs good enough that didn't have like clean beat intros because your timing was so on point, but it didn't matter because it just like was so smooth. And I remember being in Rumor, like at the bottom of the steps, like waiting and kind of just watching you both. And then again, Peter played that night too, which it's just like theatrical about how, you know, how crazy he gets on like banging that cue button and really like I said, taking those risks. So again, for myself, that night, I specifically remember just the vibe and the energy being like so on point with the music. And, you know, it was one of the times that I actually had the realization of like, music matters. Like it will make or break your night. Like you won't know this until you go to a night with bad music, and then you'll start to appreciate the good music. So like what I was seeing these guys doing was definitely inspiring. And again, I thank you guys. So
Awesome. Thank you, John.
Just so you guys know, Foti and I have no idea what banging the cue button means. So I just want to put that out.
It's orgasmic.
You'll know if you ever see Peter's equipment, it'll never have any of the like the ink left on it because he just jams on them so much that they're all naked.
Nice.
It's like a drum pad before a drum pad.
What's your most memorable experience or most impactful, John?
That night that Adi mentioned earlier.
Okay.
The best.
It wasn't a Greek night necessarily. There were a ton of, I think there might have been a lot of Greeks there. I'm not even sure. Chris and I got a call. I think we were doing a hip hop night there maybe at the time.
We were doing venue back room Thursdays for Ace and the guys.
Did it have anything to do with Harvard? I feel like Harvard meant something that night.
I don't know.
It was something going on with 9/11. It was like a few weeks after 9/11. It was like this random night just to get people together and just kind of have a good time.
Yeah, that's probably why I wasn't like really into it. And I was like, why are we even out? Like,
yeah. It was. It just happened.
Felt the same, I think. You know, and we're like, you know what, whatever, let's go. And whatever.
Yeah, you know what? Exactly. We didn't even want to do it. We were like, oh, whatever, you know.
Yeah, I know. We're like, whatever. We'll just go drop some music.
That's so funny. Like, if it was a movie, it was like cut to John and Chris. Oh, I don't really want to play tonight. Cut to Ari. Guys, I don't want to go out tonight.
But I
cut to like the club, and I'm like on the freaking tables and.
Yeah, man, the Heinekens were going down like water that night. I remember
I think someone roofied you, Ari.
What's that?
I think somebody roofied Ari that night.
That was another night.
It wouldn't be the first.
When he fell down the steps.
It wouldn't be the first, my friend.
But yeah, I think what I could say about a night like that, and I'm sure, you know, we all may have had a night like this where I think the vibe was so cool because there were no expectations, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't like we weren't placed into a box of like, here's what this night is, you know? And so we just went out. We saw, you know, just read the crowd. Yeah. We knew there were some Greeks there. You know, we knew there was some like hip hop heads, some house heads, some international people, and we just like whatever.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point. There was no expectation whatsoever.
Yeah. You know, you bring up a good point that Peter kind of touched on, and Dimitri a little bit too. But I mean, and we touched on it because of that playlist that you ripped up for him. We haven't really talked about reading the crowd, which is the most important piece of it. Even if your mixes suck, if you can read the crowd with the music, you're still going to give them a good night. Right.
And that's why DJs are a necessity. No matter what the technology does, a DJ, a human, knowledgeable DJ is a necessity.
So on that note, thank you, John. Well, how about Mr. Thriller?
Me, I mean, my most memorable nights will always be the big Sigma nights we did. You know,
pick one.
Moneyball. Moneyball. Well, Sigma, second version of Sigma. You know, you guys had some great nights at Il Panino anyways. I mean, when Nico was here, we talked about those. Those were awesome. But when we did those big nights, I felt like, you know, 2010, 2012, 11, Chris. We made a CD. We made 1,000 CDs, passed them out. The crowd was just like intense. Like I think we'd walk out of that night and be like, wow, we just felt good. It was a good feeling in there.
Before we move on to Kosta, can John, Chris, and Arthur, can you guys just give us a brief summary of Fuda Kalamatiani and what?
Oh man,
how that happened?
You're bringing up memories. All right, let's.
You guys. I
want to say podcast.
Let's wait for the second one, but like, can you just give us a brief? Because we're gonna do multiple series of these DJ podcasts. So this isn't the last one. So there's more DJs. There's more stories. I mean, God, me alone could fill like 50 of them.
So let me start a little bit. Chris is going to come in. John's going to come in. I know that because everyone has their own view on it. But what I think Fuda Kalamatiani was the cumulation of wanting to make a Greek song, a rap song, growing up as a young kid, as in America, listening to hip hop, and then being Greek. And how it came along is a whole saga. But Chris and John at the time, I was getting into music. I was learning how to DJ. I was doing a lot of production. I was wanted to get into remixing, and I met some people that some kids that wanted to rap. So what do I do? Is I say somebody that can record us and we can make music. And I was like, well, Chris and John, they record music. They produce music, and it was like the coolest thing around at the time, that I knew these guys that can record music and make beats and stuff, which I was like in my infancy of. So and then from that, we produced a song, and then we promoted the crap out of it.
There's so much to this, dude.
I'm trying to be as vague as possible.
But here's the thing, guys. Seriously, we're gonna address the full story for sure, probably on another episode.
Yeah.
But that was just such a huge moment. It was a huge moment for me with the website. It was a huge moment for you guys. Let me just say one quick thing. I met my wife is from Maryland, and I met her years after that. And we were talking about just like, I'm Ari. I did Greek Boston. Like, all the girls knew me in Boston, blah, 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 blah. And I had nothing on her because she was in Maryland. And then we talked about Fuda Kalamatiani, and she's like, this guy, like Chris or somebody, handed me a CD down in Florida. I was like, Chris Paragios, I know that mofo. I know him. And she's like, yeah, they were doing something over there. And I was like, see, I know.
Yeah, we recorded a track, and then we promoted the crap out of it.
Dude, that was the most insane time ever, I think. There was so much that went behind that. And then my cousin Bobby, down in Miami, he was like, he's like, you're going to come down here? We're going to go to this Clearwater convention. You make like 1,000 CDs. I'll make shirts. We'll do medallions. Like, it was like out of control, because Bobby was from Miami. He grew up with like Two Live Crew. They went to high school together. He knew everybody down there. He was
like Pitbull's promotion team.
Yeah, I mean, he was like, we're gonna do it how we do it down in Miami.
About Bobby.
I was like, all right, let's do it. So there was this huge Greek convention from Greeks all over the country down in Clearwater.
Yeah.
And he's like, at the end of this event, you guys are gonna stand by the door, and you're just gonna pass these CDs out. And you're gonna pass the CDs out. You're gonna go up for the girls because they're gonna defend themselves, and you're gonna go down for the guys. I was like, all right, that's a trick that you guys use. That's what you're gonna do. And I was like, all right, we start passing out CDs. Before you know it, every single person in Clearwater had a Fuda Kalamatiani CD. And we heard stories years later. We heard stories years later, like, oh man, I remember that. We used to play that in the hotel room. We used to play that in the car. And we just sing along a Fuda Kalamatiani. And nobody had any idea who it was, what the song was about, like the history of it.
It wasn't just that. It was like, my wife like described you perfectly. And I was like, I know him. I was like, it's Chris.
What year
you
was that?
specifically, Chris, gave her the CD.
2006.
Your wife was like, yeah, right.
I was in New York in Astoria, and I heard it, and I went up to the DJ, and I was like, dude, who is that?
Yo, that's my
boys.
That's my voice at the beginning of it.
It's my boys in Boston. So he's like,
my voice at the beginning of it, and they sell that. I went to Greece, and they were selling on the beach. The Nigerian guys were selling CDs with it of our song.
That's
I'm like,
awesome.
Dude,
I remember Thriller. You asked me once. You go, yo, Ari, what's the download count? And I was like, whatever, man. It's probably like a few hundred, whatever. And I click on, back then you had to look in the logs, the web logs. It didn't have like all this analytics. And it says like 85,000 something. And I was like,
I gotta say this.
What?
You know,
and I was like, Thriller, it's like 85,000. Do you remember this?
yeah, I remember that. And I'm like, dude, I was promoting the hell out of every forum.
I was like, I've never seen those numbers before.
Every Greek forum in Greece and Australia, it was everywhere.
You guys cost me a lot of money in web bandwidth, by the way.
Listen,
we'll address that next time.
I gotta say, you just mentioned something. You know, you've made it when Nigerians are selling your CD on the beaches.
Dude, and not only that song, they're selling my remixes. They're selling Chris's remixes. They're selling like original songs that we're doing. Like we did a couple original songs with some people, some guys from New York and stuff. Like
listen,
it was amazing that it went that far, you know.
And also, Foti, to your point, I got a porn from a Nigerian that you were in. So,
a couple more things. I'm sorry, Foti. Were you going to say something?
I was saying we could probably go on and on.
No. Hold on.
Let
him go on. Go.
There's just a couple more things on this food thing, and that's it. I promise you, Foti. I go into Captain's Pizza. and Georgie was like, have you heard that song Fuda Kalamatiani, man? It's hot right now. I'm like, dude, that was us.
I remember this.
Oh my god, that was you guys? He's like, you're beating Peter Souhleris on this like some streaming like Greek site that was at the time.
Yeah, Greek radio.
I was like, really? But then what's funny too is that Alex Kouros from New York, one of my favorite DJs that I've heard outside of Boston. I didn't know him, but every time I heard him when we'd go to New York, I'm like, yo, this guy is clean. He's doing creative things. Do you know Alex, Peter? He was Frisbee's boy.
Who is it? Oh, Frisbee. That's why I asked in New York.
Alex Kouros, right?
Okay.
So I'm talking. He came down years ago to do a gig or something, and I was talking to him, and he wanted to start producing music. I was like, yeah, I dabbled in some stuff in the past. You know, and he's like, oh, yeah, what'd you do? I was like, oh, this and that. We did that song, Fuda Kalamatiani. He's like, oh, my God, that was you? Oh, man, we used to play that all the time, man. We was drinking, singing along. I was like, wow, man, everybody knows this song? You go on YouTube and you type Fuda Kalamatiani, you see all these, Greek people from Kalamata saying, oh, the memories, I remember that year.
Everybody knew that song.
I was like, wow, this became like a cult classic.
And the first time
there's some videos with 1 million plays on it. Like,
it's
ridiculous, you know?
Yeah, it was crazy.
The first time that I really felt like a professional in the music industry, because I just got off of my gig as a music producer for iCast, I was like, guys, you have to like take care of the talent, because once something gets big, their heads grow. You got to like squash it. And I remember John and Chris, I think we were in like some burger joint or something.
Yeah, we were in Somerville. We had visited you in Somerville.
Yeah.
We were at a burger joint.
And I was like, you guys gotta like, you gotta stay ahead of this. You guys are like, no, man, it's all good. And I was like, I'm telling you, I've seen it.
Yeah, that fell apart pretty fast.
On that note, that's about the time that I made my exit from like all DJs.
Yeah, John was like, man, I'm done with this.
Dude, I'm telling you, because I came from producing. And like, I was on sets with like Eminem before he got big. I was on sets with like Nelly before he got big and all these people. And I was like, the second it went up, these people were like, yo, count the M&Ms and I don't want the green ones. And I was like, Jesus Christ. Like, this is where I'm like, guys, you guys are getting really huge. I mean, just my little stinky website had 85,000 downloads in a week. Like, this is going to be big. And I remember saying, like, you gotta take these people, the talent, the front in front of the camera and be like, yo.
Well, look. In our defense, I mean, a huge part of it was because we were doing it for the passion. We were doing it like to create the song and then see what happens with it. So we weren't like, when we were so happy to be doing it, I think we put all the other stuff to the side where it was like, we didn't take care of it correctly.
The greatest stories, Arthur, come from the passion.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, people suck. And
I mean, that song came from a place at the time from how we were living and the music we were listening to and the influences of it. If you listen to it, it's lean back with a reggaeton beat over it, with this
an Arabic drum break.
Arabic drum break with a little bit of organ in it,
Greek organ, a little Greek organ.
BB and Puff Daddy in it in the beginning of it, and then Chris is in it. Like it's like there's probably about 15 people in this song,
and there's a lot of subliminal things that you wouldn't even notice.
All I know is this shit right here.
Yeah.
Every time that song comes on, I'm like.
And you know what's crazy about that? We went to Ruma one night when Souhleris and Frisbee were DJing. Yeah. It was when we were getting back into the Greek scene. And they played it that night. We didn't even ask them to play it. We were just observing, hanging out.
Frisbee was the one that I heard playing it in New York. And then when he told me and I figured it out, I'm like, see how it comes around? I'm like, those are my boys right there, right? So then I invited Frisbee to play at Ruma. And I was, I was out of the scene for a couple of years. As I said, I kept on retiring every year. So I was out of the scene. And then I went to New York. I met Frisbee. He was really cool. And I said, you know what, dude, you should come back to Boston and play with me. And we played that night together and we had a blast. And I remember playing that song because it was a jam. I was like, I'm playing the song.
And Peter, I remember when I heard it, I looked at the crowd reaction and everybody was singing along. I'm like, how the hell do these people know this song?
I think that made it all okay for us. And it actually, obviously there was stuff going on in the background.
It was worth doing. Like it was whatever the experience was, it was worth doing because you guys put out something amazing. You guys put out something. My wife, who's like 6 states away, I played it the first time in the car, and she was singing right along with it. And I was like,
"I'll tell you, I think that song too. I think represents maybe almost an evolution of from DJing to production, from DJing to remixing to trying to do like an original production. And I think that's what that song represents for me. And it all comes.
It was a symbolic song. You're right, Thrill. Yeah. It was very symbolic.
It was like. Well, we just made a song, I mean, that's not to say it was, number one across the world, but like just to actually create a song and people are singing along with it was amazing.
This is what I'm going to do. When I post this episode tomorrow, I am going to link to the GBTV episode, not the full episode, the clip of that, the segment we did on you guys.
Oh, that was at...
And it's going to be awesome.
At DJ Chaos' studio.
And it's going to be awesome because that segment was awesome. And you guys, Greco, you are like full on, my boy's spitting this and my boy's. And I was like, this is awesome.
Our ghetto-ness was on like it was the way we were speaking. We felt like we were like Death Row Records at that time.
Wasn't it Greek Star Records?
Yes. See, I don't even like to mention these things because I'll tell you, we don't. Dude. I'll tell you, after that ended, I don't think I would even mention it even in promotion. It was just a part of the past. It was what it was. I was part of that team. I kind of moved forward with my own things.
Whatever, man. You guys are part of history.
Yeah, but I rarely go back on it and say, hey, yeah, I was part of that. I mean, maybe it's time now, but like.
And so the day that we filmed the segment on you guys was when I asked John and Chris to do a little theme song that everybody is going to hear at the beginning of this very episode. So they wrote the theme song.
We got Tony Bedikis, Peter, to come to my house and he played the bouzouki.
Played the intro.
Oh my God,
I did.
That's awesome.
I use that song for everything. I use it for connecting Greeks, Boston Greeks.
Royalties to the Greekers.
And you know what, Adi?
It's on.
You didn't give us much
iTunes.
time. You didn't give us much time to make that.
I was like, yo, do it now.
I'm like,
I was like, we got the show's going on TV in like 2 weeks. Make it happen.
Hey, you need to pay royalties there, buddy.
Not me.
I got
no
Hey,
rights
Tony, can you
anymore.
play the bouzouki for us?
I got you, Arthur. I got you. Gentlemen, we can go on and on. I mean, we got so many stories, so many memories, what have you. But let's also talk to Kosta, get him on the conversation, and maybe
I'm enjoying this. I wish I could do this for quarantine forever. This is great.
Listen, guys, every single one of you, plus Thano, plus Nico, plus I don't even know if I'm missing anybody.
Yanni.
Yanni. We're gonna do this. This is gonna be recurring because this is too important to the Greek community. This is too important to the Greek scene. The most important, in my opinion, the most important Greek scene. The time that I did the Social Network, but it's the most important time of my kind of molding of a person. So if you hate me, it's all these guys' faults. Well, if you like me, then congratulate them. But this is one of the most important things for the Greeks, and this isn't going to be the only one. We there's too much to talk about.
It's going to be eight part series probably.
Oh no.
Yes.
But feeding off what you just said, just listening to all these stories and all these backgrounds, and obviously the music, but it's more than that, because we not only did we make amazing nights and people had a wonderful time and memories and crazy things going on, we were spreading our culture.
Bravo.
That's the big, and just listening on this, because I remember what my father said when I first started DJing. He said, obviously you got to love it. If you don't love it, don't do it. He goes, don't waste your time. But second of all, he goes, it's about spreading your culture to the future generation, about, it's who we are as Greeks anyways. Όλα είναι γύρω από τη μουσική. Ό,τι κάνουμε είναι γύρω από τη μουσική. So it's people, we do it, we enjoy it, we do, but we're not realizing it until now that I'm sitting back listening to all these stories, we're actually spreading our culture. This is something beyond just mixing songs.
I second that. I second that, because I feel like sometimes as I'm DJing and I'm doing the mobile events where I'm doing weddings and christenings, even at the clubs, I feel like that I am almost like a gatekeeper of the music, of our music, and giving it to the people. And that's what our job is. Our job is to keep this music and play it for them, to experience their culture.
Exactly.
That's part of that's our job. And I always thought of myself as that, and I think it even goes. And I guess, like I was saying before, it's that lineage where Peter was doing it, and Chris, and John, and then I'm doing it, and Dimitri and doing it. It's like you're holding a piece of our culture and moving it forward.
That's huge, man.
Very,
for me, I'm listening to all those stories, and Foti's like, what's the most memorable night? And look, guys, I can talk for days and weeks. I've had so many fun nights, so many fun experiences. But I will say this, I feel like, I played maybe 5 Greek nights a year. Am I right? Not talking private parties, club nights, right? You had Christmas, you had Thanksgiving, you had, maybe New Year's, Valentine's Day, whatever you could tuck in, right? And the long weekend. So 5-6 nights. And then I worked 52 weekends of the year playing, house music and everything, 3 nights a week. So that's a lot of gigs. But for me, the first time that I played Greek music in a big room, and the Greeks, we all had this electricity vibe of, our song is played at Avalon, man, or our song, this is a big club, and we're listening to Greek music, and that was unprecedented at the time. So, and
I'll never forget it, Peter. I'll never forget it.
You were
playing that Paragios song, that na 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 na. Remember that?
Yeah.
Oh, when I heard that, dude, I got chills, dude.
Because you know what? We weren't allowed to play Greek music in an American club, but we made it okay. And so for me, my most memorable nights, and there's lots of them, is when that happened. When I remember, guys, my first. I started off by saying I never played at the Roxy. I'm making a mistake. My first Greek night was at the Roxy. And then I got the job at Avalon a month later, and they never let me play there again. Mm-hmm. So when I first played Greek music at Avalon, that night the kids had Greek flags with them, right? I don't know if you guys remember this, Chris. Kids would roll with Greek flags, and they would be like, you're at a soccer game. They'd be, you know what I mean? And when I played Greek music on an American night, there was Greek flags all over the place, and that hits you right in the heart as a Greek. It just makes you so proud to say, man, like I'm at the helm of this thing and I can play Greek music and I'm loving it. And dude, they were climbing on each other's shoulders, chanting, screaming, to the point where the manager runs up to me and starts yelling at me, right? This is like my first week working at Avalon. He's yelling at me, screaming at me. What the F are you doing? What the hell are you doing? And I'm like, I'm confused. So I look at him. I forget this guy's name now. And he's going nuts on me because for an hour I was pounding and it just kept on climbing. And, you know, as a DJ, you want to do this, right? But I was just pounding it. And for an hour I was just crushing it. And he's screaming at me because the bars weren't bringing up booze. And I'm like, well, that's not my problem. And he goes, you better chill it out right now. So that's when I learned a little bit of the politics too. Like, you know, but you know, I'll never forget that. That was probably my most memorable night. I'm playing. It wasn't all Greek. It was an American night, but there was a big contingency there of Greeks. And every time I'm playing them, they're screaming, they're going nuts. And I would do like 2 little song sets and then go back in, 2 little song sets. And then at one point I just kept on going. And I was like, screw it, I'm doing it. And they were going nuts. And the Americans were feeding off of the Greeks because Greeks party, right? They party hard. And they were like, I love this. What are we dancing to? I don't care.
Oh, dude, I remember that. American girls wanting to dance.
They wanted to dance Greek. I remember doing it. I remember, you know, we're talking about the after parties, right? From the Wang. And we had VC and you know, all these people that would come in. So one of the nights we book, I don't know if it was, I forget what it was, but this was early on. And no one got there till 1 a.m. And the manager was pissed at me. He's like, you booked this night, blah, 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 da, 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 blah, 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 blah. From 1 to 2, they rang more booze than they do in a weekend, he told me. He's like, brother, anytime you want to do a Greek night, you call me, he says to me.
I think every club manager had that same story. Like, anytime you want to do a Greek night, just call us.
So that's why they still do them. If you go to Boston now, you have the Spasta kids still doing Greek nights because that reputation has lived on.
So let me ask like quick question, like how I was so embedded in the Greek scene, but now I have no idea. How is it now? Like how is
that's from my understanding, that's what's really only going on now is that they're doing Spasta nights
but like how are those nights?
And they don't look that bad. I mean,
you're talking about pre-COVID, right?
Pre-COVID.
Yeah, pre-COVID. But
there's nothing going on now, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Sorry. I left my misery at the door for a second, Chris, before you had to remind me.
So, Adi, I think one of the things that's interesting about nights now, and I've only been to a few the past few years, is like when we used to go out, you knew everybody. Every single person in there, you could be like, oh, I know. I might not know their name, but I've seen them. I know that guy, or I know her. I know him. And what I noticed now, the time I went a couple of years back, I didn't know a soul.
Wow.
A soul. Like they were all Greek and there was people there. There was the mass was there, but we had no connection. Yeah. So it's like this new wave of people who they exist, but they're not in sort of the market
the internet.
That we tap in.
I blame the internet for that one.
I totally blame the
very
internet.
personal, yeah.
Let me ask Dimitri and George, the younger guys, like you hear these stories from all the rest. You hear these stories from me over the years. Like has the internet really just removed people from the passion of their culture and like when I was 19, 20 years old, like I had to go to the Greek night. I had to because there was hot Greek girls and there was hot Greek music that the only place I could get it was at the Greek night. That no longer is true because every hot Greek girl is on Instagram and on everything else. And every hot Greek song is on YouTube and everywhere else. So is that really what is stopping the community? Like, do you guys as the younger generation, do you feel that that's what's happening?
George, do you want to go or you want me to?
That's a loaded question.
I know it's a tough question, but just give me like your initial reaction to that.
I mean, the internet has helped a lot, but it's also taken a lot. So, like, it depends on what it is. Like, as far as Greek music, like, if you wanted to hear a certain song, you would go to the club and wait for that song.
Yeah.
You wait all night till the DJ dropped that song. Whereas now it's like, I remember you telling me this, instant gratification.
Yeah.
We have everything at our fingertips.
Exactly.
YouTube, Spotify, whatever it is. And also about girls, if you wanted to meet someone, you have to go to a Greek night. If you wanted to meet someone Greek, you go to a Greek night. I don't know. It is a very complicated question.
I think just to add something into that, it's like we also live in a world now where we're in constant communication with everybody in our network. Yeah. Whether it's social media, text, whatever you want to be. And I think when we were going out, like, we were texting, but we were not like in this much of each other's business as much during the day. So I think when we went out, we looked forward to it. Like I would send a text to my buddies being like, we're going out Friday, right? But it would sort of end there.
Yeah.
And then I would see them Friday. It was something to look forward to. Now, I just don't know. Maybe people are talking so much. They're so into each other that they don't go out as much.
Let me touch on a point that I was talking with Foti about the other day when we were talking about doing this, is that at the time when we were going out, in 90s till about 2010, we were all now children of the group of immigrants that came to America. So there was a huge mass of kids, within a 20-year range. So those were the kids that you'd see out at the clubs. Now the generation has, turned over. It's also got diluted per se because people are less, our second generation now. So there's less Greeks, less Greek music that they probably listen to, or in Greek, and being Greek is now more of a choice, not for me, being Greek is not a choice. That's what I am. Everybody, pretty much 99% of the people around me are Greek. That's how I grew up. For these kids, they're growing up in a different world. So they might go to a Greek night. Now, in respect now to the music that's played, as a DJ, you have to adapt. They might know only the biggest songs and not, the traditional songs. So, in our sense, I think, for the new generation, and maybe why the scene might is dying or died, is because is there enough people to go out there and support a full Greek night? That's my question.
Your point I want to kind of comment is the fact that if you think about our upbringing, high school and maybe college, maybe the majority of our personal friends were Greek with some non-Greeks, right? I think now the generation today might not have the same presence of Greek friends growing up in their neighborhood.
Yeah. So basically we've become just we've become so like embedded into America that it's no longer like, a clique, quote unquote. It used to be a clique. And now it's not. It's not, because we're embedded. We're embedded. It's first generation. Now it's second generation. Your kids, all you guys who have kids, what are the chances that they're going to marry a Greek? I don't know.
Yeah.
And it's just, it dilutes. Yeah. As Arthur said.
I think the other thing too is, I think when my experience when I was doing the music production, and Chris and John might like doing like the mashups, and we were doing the mashups. Yeah. Because I thought a lot of people would relate to them when you're hearing like Lil Wayne, Anna VC featuring Lil Wayne. So like now a young kid who's 16 years old in high school, who probably felt like me as like, I'm Greek, but I'm living in America. Now is like, oh crap, like I'm listening to Anna VC featuring Lil Wayne, or Drake on a Greek remix of a track. So I think that kind of maybe even extended our reach on the Greek nights while we were pushing that music to different levels, where it was bringing in more people who had one vision of Greek music that was like, oh, just traditional bouzouki and stuff like that. But then we were playing it, and it was like, holy crap! Listen to how they're playing this music, and mixing and mashing it up. And I think it was bringing more people in. You know,
Yeah.
we were being contemporary.
Well, I've definitely noticed a new wave of Greek people in Boston, like in their 20s. And the December before COVID, I think I did the last Greek night before everything shut down. And it was these new promoters. They were straight off the boat Greeks.
Yep.
And the people that went there, I probably knew, I don't know, 20 people that came because I invited them. and the rest, it was a lot of off the boat Greeks that I've never met before. So, I mean, just that right there kind of told me there is a new wave. I think Greek nights will come back, once we get past this whole COVID thing.
All right. That's it. This is what we're doing post-COVID. We are going to do. Foti, what were we planning before COVID hit?
We were actually going to plan, and Peter can chime in on this. We were formulating the plan to do a reunion night.
Yeah, we were putting that together, man, and it was going to be in March, and then COVID came in March.
We were gonna have everybody except El Greco in on this. No, El Greco, you were number one on my list.
So yeah, we
were planning big things right before COVID hit. We were gonna plan like an encore casino throwback, an encore casino reunion, concerts. Like, you have no idea what COVID did to me and Foti. Like, we held each other and we cried when COVID hit.
We did a podcast right last year, and you guys were like, we got to do it. And then I was like, I don't know. Then they talked me into it, and now I'm all pumped up. I'm like, we got to do it. And then we shut down.
Because of that podcast, that's why COVID happened.
Well, this is the thing. COVID will pass someday, slowly, phases, I don't know, whatever, but we will get back to it. And everybody on this podcast is going to be part of this, and we are going to bring it back. I don't care about these young whippersnappers. I'm going to speak as an old G. Like, we are bringing it back, and we're going to kill it. And we're going to kill it because we got the talent right here.
Listen, man, if you want to do a night with the network of people we know, it's got to start at 7.
And you all got to train us on how to use whatever equipment's going to
be. Listen, you young mother effer. If I get some wine in me, good wine, not cheap wine. Cheap wine was younger, Adi. Good
We'll make
wine.
sure there's no stairs in the...
I'm going... Hey. That was beyond my control. But I will go all the way till midnight, my friend. Don't worry.
You know what? We were talking about how we all met each other as DJs, but how did everybody meet? Ari and Foti. There's some cool history behind that.
If I remember when I first met you and John, Chris,
at Getty,
for some reason I remember like I'm coming at you like a big Greek bubuna.
Yeah. Timbaland was out. That was the hot song. We were at Mercury Bar. We were all trashed. Coming out at night, you were like, I'm coming at you like the big Greek bubuna. I was like, I like this guy.
Me and Chris just kept repeating that.
The rest was history.
Hey, I'll tell you how I met Ari. I met Ari as like someone told me, well, it was Greek Boston, and he was taking pictures. I was like, I want to be on the internet. We're going to find this guy with the camera at the Roxy. And I found him. I'm like, take a picture. I can be on the internet.
Yeah.
Take a
Classic,
picture
man.
Foti, I met you at BC, I think, right? Is that where we met?
Yeah. Maybe even before BC.
Yeah. I'm sorry, man, but just I don't know if you guys talked about it while I was away, but talking about like how, and I'm going back to Kosta, what Kosta said earlier too. It's like we were spreading the culture. We were getting people to meet other Greeks. I mean, I just remember those in the 90s, man. I mean, all the universities, all the Greek clubs, we all couldn't wait to get together in one place and party.
That's the thing, man.
Intercollegiate dances were huge.
Oh yeah,
huge events. I remember back in the day.
And when we did I did 2 years in a row. I don't remember when. It was like 11, 12 or 12, 13, whatever. There was still like desire from these young college kids to get together. I don't know about now, man. 2021, who knows? But
and look, we still have Hellenic College who likes. There's always students there that would always come to our Greek nights. And there's kids from Greece that come in, like Georgia was saying. There's kids that come here to study and stuff. And then with the crisis in Greece, a lot of more Greeks came here. So there might be more people coming, but to recreate
whatever the case is, when COVID is not the big issue of the day, we're 100%, no ifs, ands, or buts. We're 100% gonna do stuff. Yeah. So everybody here is involved. Everybody here has what?
Does that mean that we're gonna start to take over the church council now? Like, do we move in that chapter of our lives where we?
No, I will never. No, I'm not going anywhere near that.
And then we start doing church events. Is that where we're going? Because think about this. A big part of our culture, right? You all mentioned Rosendale, Lynn, Peabody, Quincy. We all grew up in the church community, right? Goya basketball, the church dances, and then it evolved to the nightclubs. So
now, our social media back then was flyers on the cars at church.
At churches.
That was our Facebook.
Every Sunday we had to go before church. We had to fly all the cars and then get in trouble for making a mess.
The priest would call me all the time. Souhleris, έλα στο parking lot και καθάρισέ τα. I'm like, it wasn't me. He goes, your name's all over the place. I'm like, it wasn't me, I swear.
You guys are killing the environment here.
I couldn't wait for those flyers, man.
Keep this Greek flame going, like Arthur had mentioned, like, and Kosta, you mentioned, like, we're keeping the Greek flame going from generation to generation. So when we come to this point in our lives where, our kids are getting older, do we then start getting involved with our church community to keep this flame going, or what do we do?
I mean, I think you just have to have a presence that is not like, okay, so at this point, I sold Greek Boston because I didn't want to be the old guy taking pictures of like young girls, because that's just creepy.
You're lying.
Not that I don't want to do that. Like, I'll do it. Like, you force me, hey, I'll do it. But like, I didn't want to be that creepy old dude that I used to make fun of when I was young. And it was like, that time is gone. So now we have the experience, we have the network, we have the connections where we could pull off cool stuff that we couldn't do when we were younger. Ooh. I'm just, me and you, Foti, and not to drag you down, Peter, we're not going to be in front of that camera like as we're promoting this stuff and we're the men, we're the cool guys, like girls like get all over this. Like, that's what I'm going to have Dimitri and George for. But this is like, we can pull it off because we have the experience, we have the history, we have the network, we have the friendship, we have the know-how. And post-COVID, God damn it, we're gonna do something and we're gonna bring it back. And if we can't bring it back to 2,000 Greeks like in Peter's heyday, we're gonna bring it back to whatever the maximum that we can do now can do. And you have my word on that.
All right. On that note, let's do it. On that note, I'm going to go put my son to sleep.
On that note, I'm drink my milk of magnesia. And
this was great. The fact that we got together, and the fact that we were able to get together collectively at the same time, the same day, the same night, the same hour, is beyond me. Because
at least we're all on the East Coast.
We can never get so many people at once within our network to commit to a certain day and time. So thank you for doing this.
But here's what I'm going to say.
This was a pleasure.
Each and every one of you guys, every single one of you guys are awesome. Every single one of you guys played a pivotal role in everything that has been the Greek scene in Boston. Every single one of you guys has played a pivotal role in everything that I perceive as like my upbringing, my coming into the Greek scene. My business was the Greek scene, and every single one of you guys played a pivotal role in that. Now we're doing this podcast with this whole new thing, and every single one of you guys will play a pivotal role in that. Never will we forget this network. Never will we forget this friendship. And like, this is the first episode of many more to come, because honestly, I'm not even going to say anything about the future episodes. I'm just going to say 7:00 next Thursday, just be here, and we're going to have a million things to talk about, and we're going to have to be forced off the air because we have so much stuff to talk about. And like, this has been so exciting for me. I was so looking forward to this, and this was better than what I thought it was going to be. And I love each and every one of you guys. And I thank every one of you guys for coming, for being on here. The next time we do this, and I don't want it to be too far in the future. So I say once a month if you guys are down. Once a month we do this. And we talk about the old days. We talk about the issues that pertain to us. We talk about the
We talk about
issues.
stories about you.
What?
We talk about stories about you back then.
No stories about me, especially you, Chris.
Most of them are gonna have to be, man.
John, I puked in your car. Chris, I puked on your CDs. We don't talk about that. So,
No, I think you spilled beer on my CDs.
oh, that's what it was. I have the video actually of you coming down, Chris running down the stairs and talking to a bunch of people. I don't know who they were, but there was a video camera going, and he's like, "Yo, Ari just spilled beer all over my CDs," and you were so pissed. And every time I see that video, I laugh my ass off.
That's
What?
a big no-no, Adi. That's a big no. You don't mess with the DJs,
First of
CDs,
all,
whatever it is. It's like we're OCD about that stuff.
Costa, in that same video clip, it's me talking on the mic, and I'm like, "Hey, everybody," and I was like, "What the fuck is going on?" But anyway, guys, this was awesome. This was so good. Peter, you are so much an influence more than I ever perceived you to be. Chris, I love you, man. You are awesome. George, I mean, we used to hang out and smoke cigars and play COD. You taught me COD, actually. John, my God, the history of all of us is like insane. Thrilla, the man, the coolest guy in the world. Kosta, the name, Hellenic sound, you, your brother, the nicest guys in the world. Like, I can't even like say more. 7, you DJ'd my baptism, man. Like, you can't get better than that. And Foti, I don't know. I don't know you that well, so like I'm not going to say much.
You know what? I want to say thank you to Foti and Adi for putting stuff like this together, man, and keeping it alive, and generations to come get to hear this, because you know I've had a cool time just going down memory lane with all these guys at different parts of my life. It's been awesome, but you guys didn't put this together, we wouldn't get it out there, and this is some cool history for the Greeks, you know.
Thank you,
so
Peter.
Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate
You know,
it.
as much as I said that we're the gatekeepers of the music, you guys are the gatekeepers of the culture of our generation.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
and without Greek Boston was so influential. I mean, you say we're DJs, we're influential. Greek Boston was influential on us, like being just even like I said before, getting my picture on Greek Boston. I thought it was the best thing in the world. But like your website for so long was such a, like to this day, people are like, yeah, I think I've seen your name on Greek Boston. I'm like, okay,
It was the go-to site for Greeks.
You know, so you guys, you and
Thank
Foti
you,
together
guys.
are keeping our community together. So
Listen,
Well,
we
effort
appreciate
amongst all
that
of
so much, but
Adi,
you know,
man, I remember the day you told me about the idea of Greek Boston. And I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, I'm putting this site together. It's going to be all about the Greeks in Boston. And that was like when the internet had just come out.
Yeah, man. way back.
Still trying to figure out how to email.
We
I think
appreciate that.
Ari, you and Zuckerberg were in Boston at the same time.
Yeah, I know. I bet you Zuckerberg saw some of these picture galleries and he
Yes.
got the idea for Facebook.
The
I will go
original
help you collect
social
that money.
network.
I will go. Let's go.
The original social network, GreekBoston.com.
I'm going to be like a Winklevi and I'm going to sue that guy for something. I don't know what.
Yeah.
But listen, guys, truly, you guys are the Greek community. This is the first episode. Everybody out there is listening. This is the first episode of a series because there's way too much to talk about. We got the first generation, second generation, third generation. We got a lot to talk about. There's a couple of DJs missing we're going to bring in next time. So just know that this is the first episode. Thank you so much, Dimitri, John, Arthur, Kosta, Peter, Chris, George, Foti. Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. This was an awesome episode. The best
you,
episode that
guys.
I've done.
Thank you, guys.
We love you all, man.
Naste kala.
Love
Love
you.
you all.
Guys, good night,
And
everyone.
Costa, make
Good
sure
night.
Mike is on the next episode.
I'll get him. Definitely. We'll get him next time.
I'm upset right now.
Absolutely.
I'm upset right now. Mike
Next
Mike
time.
is the nicest guy I've ever met in my whole life.
Oh, yeah, the Blathras boys, you can't get nicer than them, man. You can't get nicer than them.
Thanks,
All right, guys.
guys.
Good night,
Naste
guys.
kala.
Good night,
Naste
guys.
kala.
You guys have a good night.
Yeah.
Everybody, thank you.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Night.
Bye.
Good night.